Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes, okay? So I'm going to talk about types of source. So in the previous video, I talked about, I just did an overview, I introduced you to what I'm going to talk about in this series, okay? So if you've not subscribed, I'll advise you to subscribe. So when I upload new videos, you'll be the first to know. Now, in the previous video, I talked about source. I told you that these are values that have square root signs that cannot be further simplified. And they cannot be expressed as either whole numbers or integers or even accurately like fractions. So I told you that something like square root of 4 or square root of 9, these are not source because you can write this as plus or minus 2, or you can write this as plus or minus 3. Now, these are not source because you can further simplify them. But when you have something like square root of 3, square root of 5, square root of 7, you can further simplify this one. So this is an example of source. And also in the previous video, I also explained to you the concept of rational numbers and irrational numbers. So I told you rational numbers can be expressed as a fraction or as a ratio of integers, while irrational numbers cannot. All right. So I'll quickly jump into it. I'm going to talk about the types of surds. And the types of surds, we have about 6 of them. I'm going to talk about 6. There could be more, so you can go back and try and revise or review some textbooks and see if you can get more. But when I looked around, I think there are basically 6. There are 6 major ones. And after that, we'll now go straight to talking about the laws of surds. Now, the first one we have is what we call the simple surds. Now, simple surds, these are surds that only have one term. So for those that will be writing, so these are surds that only have one term. Is that okay? So these are surds that only have one term. So for example, you have like what we talked in the previous whiteboard. We have square root of 5, we have square root of 7, we have square root of 3, and stuff like that. So these are surds that just only have one term. Now, these are simple, from the word simple. Now, but this is a little bit different from similar surds, okay? Now, similar surds are surds, but in this case, they have a common surd factor. So that means basically you can say similar surds. These are surds that have common surd factor. Okay, they have common surd factor. So for example, you can have, let's say you have square root of 2, okay? Similar sort to it could be 3 square root of 2. You can have 20 square root of 2. You can have 5 square root of 2, etc. Now you can see because they contain the similar source square root of 2, because they all contain square root of 2, which we all understand are irrational numbers. They are called what? Similar sorts. So we have the simple sorts. They are sorts that only have one term. We have similar sorts. They have common sorts form, all right? Or common sorts factor. Now, the next concept I want to introduce to you is what we call the mixed sorts, okay? You need to listen a little bit carefully here. Now, mixed sorts are, these are sorts that are not completely irrational, all right? They are not completely irrational, but can be expressed as a product of both rational and irrational numbers. So what I'm just saying is that there are sorts, all right, that are not completely irrational. Okay, there are sorts that are not completely. So there are sorts that are not completely irrational, but can be expressed. Okay, so can be expressed as a product of rational and irrational number. Okay, so these are not, they are not completely irrational, but can be expressed as a product of rational and irrational number. So for example, let's pick this one, 3 root 2. This is what we call a mixed sort. You can see that 3 root 2 is the same thing as saying 3 times root 2. Can you see? Now 3 is a rational number, root 2 is an irrational number. So if you've not watched my previous video where I talked about the difference between rational and irrational number, I would advise you to have a look at it. So you will see that 3 is a rational number, and root 2 is not it's an irrational number, and it's a product of both of them. So that means 3 root 2 is what? A mixed sort. All right. This is what we call a classical example of a mixed sort. Now, but this is slightly different to the fourth one that we call a pure sort. All right. So pure sorts are mixed sorts, but their rational number value now is 1. So basically, pure sorts are mixed sorts, but the rational value here is what? 1. So pure sorts are mixed sorts, all right? Having a rational value of 1. Okay? Of 1. So you can, so for example, we have 1 root 2, which is the same thing as what? Root 2. So you can see that pure sort is very, very, very similar to what? Simple sorts, because all simple sorts can be referred to as pure sorts, okay? They can be referred to, all right? They can be referred to. So you can also say all pure sorts are mixed sorts, but as you know, not all mixed sorts will be pure sorts. Is that okay? So we usually write pure sort without the 1. Is that all right? So we usually write something like root 2. Don't write 1 root 2. You can write like 1 root 2, but the convention is to ignore the 1, because we know that the product of 1 with any number will give you the same product. Is that okay? Now, but this will be a little bit different to the number 5, where we talk about a compound sorts, right? Now, what we talk about a compound what? Surds. So this will be number 5. Now, compound sorts is a little bit interesting. Compound sorts is a little bit interesting. For compound sorts, it's an expression where we have like a rational number being added or subtracted to a simple sort. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's an expression which have an addition or subtraction of a rational integer and a simple sort. So remember I told you simple sorts, they only have one term. So we can say it's an expression, all right? So an expression which is an addition or subtraction. So it could be either you're adding or you're subtracting, but the key thing here is that when you're adding or subtracting, you're subtracting a rational number, okay? A rational, or you can say a rational integer, and a simple sort. All right? So now this is the difference, okay? So for example, let's say we have something like 5 minus root 7. This is what we call a compound sort, or we have root 71 plus 3. This is a compound sort. So basically, it's an expression where you're adding or subtracting a rational integer and a simple sort, all right? And the last one I'm going to just throw in here is what we call the binomial sort. Binomial sorts. We're going to talk about the binomial sorts. Now, for binomial sorts, these are sorts that are made up of 2 sorts. So it's a sort that are made up of 2 other sorts. So a sort that is made up two other sorts. Okay, so these are sorts that are made up of 2 other sorts. So for example, we have 47 minus root 7 plus root 5. This is what we call a binomial sorts. All right, so these are the 6 types I'm going to talk about in this video series. All right, So you can go back home and review, do some research, search on textbook and get more of them. But I think for this video series, I'm going to just use only among the 6 of them. So technically we have 6 that we're going to talk about. We have the simple surds. These are surds that only have one term. We have the similar surds. These are surds that have a common surds factor. We have a mixed surd. This one that they're not completely irrational, but are expressed as a product of both the rational and irrational number. We have the pure surds, which are mixed surds, but they have a rational value of 1. So technically, you can say pure surds are similar to the simple surds. All right. So we can also say all pure surds are mixed surds, but not all mixed surds are pure surds. All right. Now we also have a compound surds, where it's an expression where we're either adding or subtracting a rational integer and a simple surd. And you now have a binomial surds that are made up of 2 other surds. All right. I think that will be that for that. The next video, I'm going to go straight into the laws of surds. We're going to talk about the 7 laws of surds. How do you add surds? How do you multiply? How do you divide? And the rest of it. That's what I'm going to go to. Then after which, we're going to solve some questions on this. All right. So if you've not subscribed, please do so that you get a notification when I upload a new one. All right. All right. Thank you very much. And I'm going to see you in the next video.